Right.
So, I don't know, it's on,
But he's a CPA. That's okay.
Villa Maria.
I can find him on Villa Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Let me tell you again what I do, and I don't know if you had a chance to see the television show that I do.
No, I haven't.
It's on KAMU television, which is Channel 4. That's the public television station that's over at Texas A&M, and it's a TV show called Veterans of the Valley. And every week I bring a veteran over there. We just sit down in chairs like you and I are sitting in right now, and we just talk. Just talk about your experience as a veteran. And I understand I received a call from somebody who goes to church with you that your story is pretty fascinating as far as your story. And I just wanted to sort of
unique, I guess. But
unique, yeah. You were one of the first MPs, is that right? The military police?
I formed the first military police battalion has ever formed.
Tell me more about it. This was in...
Well, I did not graduate from high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was in 10th grade. Well, they started making 12 grades instead of 11.
Yes, sir.
I was 18. I said, hell, I'm old enough to make a living.
Uh-huh.
I quit. So I got odd jobs and worked around, made $2 an hour, a day, rather. 25 cents an hour.
Right.
Anyhow, I did that for a couple of years and still didn't get anywhere. Well, I'd gone to work for Brown and Root. We was down in Corpus Christi. And I had left home. And it's paying 40 cents an hour. Boy, I was in hog heaven. $3.20 a day. I'd get room and board for $7 a day. A week, rather.
Yes, sir.
Lo and behold, for a couple of weeks, and the job run out. Well, I had another little job lined up. I worked on it for a while, and it quit. Here come a recruiting outfit in town,
mm-hmm.
Calvary. And I thought, hey, why in the hell haven't I thought of this? They furnish you the clothes and let you ride a horse. Everything, that's glory. But I found out, having been reared on a small farm, thought I knew about horses, but I found out I didn't know very much about them.
Yes, sir.
I knew they had 4 legs. Anyhow, I joined the cavalry.
Uh-huh.
Well, I went through all of the activities of the cavalry, and I guess basically for a couple of years I was enjoying myself, because in the cavalry was really about like Sunday on the farm.
Sure.
The cavalry at that time, well, I think the entire army was. This was 1936.
Okay.
And they had a lot of what was affectionately called 28-day soldiers. They had known nothing else but soldiering. They looked forward to payday and a 2-day drunk. And that was their life. And most of them, that's what they did. Well, I realized after I got in there, of course, you signed up for 3 years. But I did have some good clothes and this, that, and the other. Felt like I was not really where I wanted to be, but along came the Japanese were kind of erratic, and they sank the USS Panay in the Yankees River in 1938. Well, I knew enough about the cavalry and modern warfare that I didn't want to be in the cavalry during any war, but it looked like war was coming. I talked to my dad and I said, call the commanding officer and tell him you need me on the farm. He didn't, but he called the commanding officer, and I got a dependency discharge, but I had to join the regular Army Reserve for in order to do that. So in 1941, well, they called me back in, right back in to the same cavalry. I was originally down at Fort Brown.
Yes, sir.
And if you know much about back at that time, they had a cavalry post at Fort Brown, one at Fort Ringo, because they were still protecting the coast down there, the border.
Yes, sir.
And they had 8th Engineers at Laredo, or Nuevo Laredo, and the 67th Field Artillery at Marfa, and then on out to, well, before you got to there, you had the 5th Cavalry at Brackettville, and then on out at Marfa, 67th Field Artillery, and on out at El Paso, Fort Bliss.
Yes, sir.
Was the 7th Cavalry. So the border was pretty well protected back in those days. Well, we did lots of maneuvering and this, that, and the other. And of course, like I said, the cavalry was more or less like Sunday on the farm. There wasn't much to do, take care of the horses and do a little bit of drilling. Well, when they called me back in, I went right back to the same outfit, but they were out at El Paso at Fort Bliss. Well, I didn't want any part of the cavalry in World War, and war, any kind of war.
Right.
So there was a mechanized cavalry. I went to them and talked with them. I said, about a transfer. They said, no, we're full up. Said everybody else is just like you. They don't want the cavalry, and they want to transfer here. I said, we're full up. Can't use you. So I wrote a letter to commanding officer at Eddington Field in Houston and explained to him that I had all my drill and this, that, and the other. I want to know if it's possible to transfer there. Well, I received a letter from him telling me that he would welcome me. All I had to have was a 90 IQ. Well, to be in the Army, you have to have a 70 IQ. To be in the Corps, in the Air Corps, you had to have a 90. So the first sergeant and the company commander both knew that I was trying to get out of there. They said, they're forming a military police organization. Would you like to go to that? Said, they'll make you corporal. Well, yeah, anything to get out of me away from these horses. So they formed what was called the 1st Cavalry Division Provisional Military Police Company. Well, it lasted for 45 days. And I didn't understand, hey, all these fellows, this is not the same type of group I've been soldiering with. These fellows are pretty sharp.
Where was this?
That was in El Paso.
In El Paso, okay. At Bliss?
Fort Bliss.
Uh-huh.
And that lasted for 45 days. We took some training, this, that, and the other. And it lasted for 45 days.
Was this in 1941?
Yeah.
Okay, before Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And busted up and sent us back to our original troops. And we were all from the cavalry. And first sergeant said, don't draw equipment, you're being transferred. I said, good, where am I going? He said, you're going to Fort Sam Houston. Well, there was a couple of things that happened along in there that to me was kind of awful, but I didn't draw equipment and sit around waiting to go. All of a sudden, the first sergeant came down and says, you got to draw equipment. We're having this is more or less off the beaten path, but said, we're having an alert tonight. And says, you're going to have to draw equipment. So I drew equipment. Well, at 9 o'clock, they had an alert. I went to the stable. Stable sergeant said, that horse over there right by the end of the picket line, said, that'll be your horse. Well, I walked up to that horse with my bridle in my hand, and that horse saw me coming and broke loose from picket line. I said, my God, I ain't been mounted in 45 days. I got to ride that thing. Well, they finally got him caught and saddled and everything, and we got ready to ride. The first sergeant said, Browning, you had all your training. You don't belong to a platoon or squad. You ride point. Or ride point, you're about half a mile ahead, half a mile to either right or left. So I rode point. Well, these horses are like men. They've been trained and they follow each other, and they do whatever the others do. And you get them away from there and they're cantankerous. I don't know whether you've ridden horses much or not, but...
Not much, but some.
This horse, stiff-legged, all night long. I was beat.
Yes, sir.
I got in. The truck was waiting to take me back, turn the equipment in. The truck's waiting to take you back to camp. Well, needless to say, I didn't have any sleep. We had to load up on trucks. I think there was about 60 of us on these 6x6 trucks. And we headed out for Fort Sam Houston. Needless to say, I had a horrible trip. And I'll tell you another thing, I've never been on a horse since.
So you were at Fort Sam Houston as part of the military police?
Yeah, that was the first contingent for the military police. Well, I found out then, hey, we're supposed to form a unit here. Well, here came a bunch of people in, recruits, all between the ages of 21 and 28. some of them college graduates. Well, here I am, a corporal. They put me in charge of them. I had to relearn how to drill because I hadn't been doing much drilling. I have to say that they formed 4 companies. At the time, I thought it was very unusual because in 1938 I made what was known as the PID maneuvers, which is Proposed Infantry Division maneuvers, and that was 3 squads equal a platoon, 3 platoons equal a company, 3 companies equal a battalion. Where did this extra company come from? Well, they got rid of that extra company, and first thing you know, I began to get promoted, and they, first sergeant came to me and says, you can have a good promotion if you take a job and go to Iceland in military police. And I said, just a minute. I was born and reared where the mean temperature is maybe 28 degrees. I don't want to go to Iceland, period. However, it must have been a good place to fight World War II. But anyhow, I began to get promotion after promotion, and they started sending out cadres to form other, well, let's see, another thing I want to say, these men that we received were exceptionally smart.
Yes, sir.
Well, come to find out, hey, they had to have at least 110 IQ to even be in here.
Right.
Which is unusual because most of the Army didn't have 110 IQ. And these men were pretty sharp. So a lot of them applied for OCS and made it because they were pretty sharp men. And of course we got replacements in, and they began to form other organizations. And
so where were you on December 7th? Pearl Harbor. Where were you?
December the 7th, I was in Fort Sam, Houston.
You were at Fort Sam?
I didn't know anything about I was married at the time. And I had 2 boys from New York. They had been in my squad, and I had invited them to come eat evening meal with me. And needless to say, at that age, I was not interested in television. Well, they didn't have television, radio, or much of anything else. I was more interested in sex and eating. Anyhow, they came, and that's the first time I'd heard about the attack on Pearl Harbor when they came.
Right.
And
so what happened after that?
well, they formed another battalion. Well, in fact, they formed 2 more. Well, most of the people in the cavalry had already been promoted to first sergeant and gone out and formed these other organizations. Well, I was put into B Company, and we formed a new organization there called the 503rd Military Police Battalion. And then I went to, when formed the 503rd Military Police Battalion, I looked at the situation. I tried to get some of the NCLs from the 504 to swap with me, because I knew what they were drafting. They were drafting 38 and 38 years of age and 18 years of age.
Yes, sir.
I said, how are you going to make anything out of this? Well, everybody else knew the same thing I did, and they wouldn't trade. But I wanted to go with the outfit I'd helped to train. Anyhow, we went out and formed a new outfit, and I assembled my staff sergeants, and I said, all right, we've got a problem. We can't call them boys because some of them are men. We can't call them men because some of them are boys. Let's call them fellas, GIs, whatever we're going to call them, but don't call them men or boys. We've also got another problem. We've got to start a competition between these young men and old men to see if we can't get things worked out.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out so well that we were on pass every weekend.
Yes, sir.
Well, we finally ended up and had to go to Europe. Needless to say, I was on the 1st of January, 1943.
That's when you went over?
Yeah. My company was to go to, well, the entire battalion was to go to Boston. We loaded up on troop train. Mm-hmm. And I had one of these 38-year men, 38-year age men, who had been well, I don't really know what he had been, really. He had worked in a funeral home. Mm-hmm. And knew his way around in there, and he'd take off and get drunk. And he was the only man that didn't show up. The commander told me to put him under arrest quarters. I'm telling you this now because it comes in handy later on. Mm-hmm. Because we had several incidents along that same line.
Yes, sir.
With him. Anyhow, we got to Boston, and most of the men I had were from back east or in that general area. And I don't think I told you, but my company was composed of 176 men, 178 men, mm-hmm. and one company commander and 4 lieutenants. But you probably knew that already. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, I got to Boston. Everything was covered in ice and snow, and I froze to death. Mm-hmm. Finally, they loaded us up on a ship, the USS Elizabeth C. Stanton. Well, I didn't know much about ships. I was born and reared on the coast, but I didn't know much about ships. Lo and behold, I was a senior NCO aboard ship. So they issued me a 17-jewel Hamilton wristwatch so I could keep time, because I had to go for the captain's quarters every morning and set my watch and find out what was going on throughout the day. Well, we left out of Boston Harbor, and sailed out overnight and met with a huge caravan out there. And I had no idea that we were to be the flagship of the convoy. And we set out and sailed from there out into the Atlantic and went the northern route, which I have been told many times since that there's not a more treacherous body of water anywhere, because that ship would be up like this and down like that, up like this and down like that.
Oh
and
my goodness. Left and right, back and forth.
In fact, on one side of us, on the right side, was a destroyer. It did not go up and down with the waves, it went right through them. On the other side of us was a baby flat top. Every once in a while you'd see the propeller turning out of the water.
Oh my.
It was that rough.
Yes, sir.
Well, about 90% of my company was seasick before they ever got over there. And I think the last couple of days out, I was seasick. Well, we finally landed in, well, let's see, before we got there, one morning, well, we got reasonably close to Alaska, Iceland, and airplane flew out and contacted us. Well, hey, you know you're heading for war, what about this? And of course, the airplane didn't attack us or anything. But next morning I went to captain's quarters, set my watch, was issued the orders to have everybody above deck at exactly 9 o'clock. So I put senior NCOs at each hole coming up, and just as I stepped outside at exactly 9 o'clock, boom! I got a shit in my pants. It scared the hell out of me. Everybody else sitting there, standing around there, watching what was going on. Well, then the entire armada did the same thing. And what they did, they shot this flak up in the air and then started shooting these pom-pom black-act guns into it as practice. And it was fascinating to watch. The entire armada started doing it. And then we got into 4th Scotland. Everybody wanted to touch ground. They unloaded us off there right onto a train, and we didn't get to touch ground at all. Went from there down to what was known as Peover Hall. We still didn't know what was taking place. We knew that we were going to be in war. And finally they began to move lots of troops into that general area. Then here came General Patton. All the officers and NCOs in the first 3 grades had to go to a meeting to hear Patton. I had worked out in the oil fields with Brown and Root, and I knew what a oil field driller was like. Oh boy, but big and burly and with a voice that sounded like, get the hell out of here, let's get this job done. This, that, and the other.
Yeah, like a roughneck. Yeah.
We assembled out there and was almost a feminine voice. Pat introduced himself. And I never heard so much giggling in all my life. Because everybody thought the same thing I did. Here he was, almost a feminine type voice, and telling us what we was going to do and this, that, and the other. And so we got organized. And then June the 7th, we didn't go across right then. June the 7th, they attacked it. In France. And so then we moved from there down to Southampton and waited there until we could board ship. And we waited there for several days. In other words, we didn't get into France until July, about the 2nd or 3rd. In fact,
this is 1943.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had an incident happen there. I've been asked at times to give talks to school kids, and I always tell them about this incident because it was comical, yet it was something it was God to see. Here we were, none of us ever been in war before. The ship had landed. We were not able to unload that day. We had to sit there throughout the day. Here it was about dark. Just on the plane, we could see him coming along there. Saw this hack going up and hit this plane. This plane turned to a ball of flame and plummeted toward the earth. I had one old boy by the name of Broccoli. He was my armor artificer. Very talented person. But what he meant was that it was hard for him to believe that he was watching something being shot down in real war. And he said, oh, that was no plane. Well, an old boy from Wyoming, he had a voice that sounded like a sheep bleating. He said, well, it sure as hell wasn't a submarine.
That's a good story.
And of course then we unloaded and got off over there, and then we found out, hey, we're the first outfit out of the 3rd Army to land here. We got to for the winter. My company was in the Grand Hotel de la Poste. I had an office here, and right next door was the booking office and the interrogation office. And one day I heard a voice, and I said, dang, I never went in there. You know, I had company business to take care of.
Right.
And I never went in there what was going on because I had people who were definitely good at that. So I never bothered them. One day I heard this voice, and I said, dang, that voice sounds familiar. I opened the door, and the old voice says, Tommy! His parents owned a farm right next to my dad's.
Is that right?
And I had known him all my life.
I'll be darned.
And he had been AWOL, dressed as half as a civilian, and been AWOL and been shacked up. And I carried him back to his unit and told him, we've had him up there. So it saved his life, really. But
Yeah, probably so. What kind of action were you in as a military police? But you came under. Did you come under a lot of action, a lot of fire, a lot of
No. Most of the fire was up ahead of us.
Right.
One time, I guess, there's one time when the fire was right there at us.
Yeah.
But I never pulled a weapon on anybody.
I see.
I never, as far as I know, I never had one pulled on me.
Being attached to General Patton's, to the headquarters, did you personally know Patton? I mean, did you have occasion to
not that we were
one-on-one with him? Or?
One-on-one, no.
Yeah.
He knew who I was.
Right.
Because I was right with that organization all the time.
Right.
Well, we got on up to after we left there. Of course, when we during the battle, shortly after that was the Battle of the Bulge. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. I want to tell you about the Big Bertha.
Yes, sir.
You probably heard about the Big Bertha.
I have.
The Germans had moved this weapon up there, and of course we were in Nancy, France, and they'd lob these shells over to Nancy, France, and you'd hear them go off, and you knew that about 5 minutes more there'd be another one go off. Mm-hmm. It'd take them that long to load that thing, get another one in there. But they just interrupt your sleep is all.
Yeah.
You could hear them hit, but you didn't know where they were.
Right.
And they didn't either. In fact, I don't think they really did much damage with it. Anyhow, shortly after that was the Battle of the Bulge.
Yes, sir.
Patton told us, you've got to move my entire outfit to the Battle of the Bulge. Well,
this is the winter of '43.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It was very cold. I know that.
It was cold.
Yep.
In fact, rarely ever did we put one man out on a station by himself, but we were so short of men by then that the entire length of that thing, from Nancy to Battle of the Bulge, mm-hmm. we had to police that whole thing, and Patton said it was done so well that he gave us my company a wreath that went on our sleeve.
Yes, sir.
For the work that we did. Well, shortly after that we became active and went on up through went over into Germany and got on up into Frankfurt. Mm-hmm. Well, in Frankfurt we were billeted in a building. Mm-hmm. I had read a story in a Reader's Digest about an Englishman who was educated in Vienna and to become a doctor and dedicated his life to the Chinese. Mm-hmm. One day I was sitting there in my orderly room and heard the guards talking to a woman outside. I knew it was not a German woman. I could tell her English accent. So I stepped outside to find out what was going on. She said this was her house. And she come in, she told me about her husband being over in China, told me her name. All of a sudden it dawned on me. I said, I read about this. I said, that was in a magazine, Reader's Digest, within the last month or two. Let me see if I can find that magazine. Oh, she tickled to death to get it.
Mm-hmm.
A few days later, she come up there and she said, well, what she wanted to do was go look through her stuff down there she had stored. Well, we would not go through anything that was stored like that. So I took her down there and showed her that. Everything was still intact. And she came up there one day and wouldn't talk to nobody but me. Said she'll talk to Sergeant Browning. She said the leader of the German youth movement will be at a certain building at a certain time. Well, I couldn't hardly believe that she was telling me this and knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But I put men out there without, and I got out there myself. And sure enough, when he walked in, I latched on to him. Well, I carried him to CIC, and they said, Sergeant Browning, you've got Mr. Big. Said he is the leader of the German youth movement. Well, another thing that happened there,
I'll be darned. Oh.
my company didn't do it. My battalion did. They're the ones that found this gold mine. They had picked this woman up. She was leaving out of town, and she wasn't supposed to leave out of town. They picked her up and said she was a midwife. And as I was driving along, well, she said something about the money in the salt mine. Well, each company had so many interpreters. I had two. And one of the interpreters was riding in there. He found out about this. Well, he reported it to Army headquarters. And first thing I knew, I got an order. So each company had 6 of these 6x6 trucks. So we each had to send battalion headquarters had 2. We were ordered to take these trucks over, send driver and escort under guard over there to this mine that had found this gold. It took those 20 trucks to haul that stuff out of there to the bank there in Frankfurt. It was all done under guard.
Yes, sir. And you witnessed this? I mean, you saw him taking the...
I didn't witness it, no.
Yeah.
But I knew all about it.
Right.
I knew everything that was taking place.
Sure, yeah.
I guess a short period of time after that was we had moved back into other parts of Germany and was down at Ingolstadt. And, well, see, before we got into there, Army headquarters had picked up, and I don't know who did it, top jobs had come open. And one day they hired a colored man. And he was pretty sharp. He wasn't no dummy. But he was pretty sharp. And they gave him to me to train. He worked with me for 9 years. They shut the unit down, fixing to do some work. They had chief operator's job open, and I was supposed to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they made me a chief operator and made him a chief operator. Well, it went on. This didn't make sense. They went on and got the unit overhauled. We had to go back home. They come to me and said, Mr. Browning, we've got to put you back. The government is making us make him the chief operator and put you back.
Mm.
I said, well, thank God. I've got enough time. Figure my retirement. He says, Browning, we got to have you to bring the tires back on. I said, okay. The first day I work for him as my chief operator, that is the day I retire. I said, I fought for this government, and this government's pulling this on me. I can't stand it.
Mm.
I said, otherwise I'll go till I'm 60. And everybody in the plant knew what was taking place. So he says, well, there's nothing we can do. The government's making us do it.
All right.
So I said, okay, I'll retire.
When did you come to Bryan?
When I retired,
Yeah.
my son had gone to A&M.
Right.
He always said, Dad, when you retire, I want you to move over here where it'll be easier to look at you all.
Right.
Well, when his mother got down, I was awful glad we was up here, but because he helped me an awful lot.
Right.
In fact, he still helps me.
Yeah.
Because without him, I'd be lost. I don't have transportation.
Right.
I have macular degeneration. I can't drive.
Yes, sir.
He insisted I sell my truck.
Do you have any photographs or anything?
Oh,
Do you have a book or something? You tell me where it is, I can find it. In there?
I'll be over. See what you got. Right in there.
All right. Wow.
Well, I'd have to have some of the things there. We left out of Frankfurt. Pat wanted to go on. Wanted to really go on into Russia, but he got up to the Elbe River. Like I say, I was always right with Army headquarters. There was a municipal building there with a large paddock type thing poured in front of it. And I went up there on that patio, and there was a uniform I hadn't seen before. And so I walked up there and shook hands with him and said, American, Ruski. And he hugged me on both sides. Of course, they knew that the United States had been sending these aircraft overseas to them.
Right.
And Patton had gone to the Elbe River and was not supposed to, and Eisenhower was going to have a meeting with him then, and I'm sure it would have bothered him.
Right.
But anyhow.
Are you in this picture?
Yeah.
Which one are you?
I'm first sergeant.
Where, right here?
Yeah.
This is you?
Yeah.
And this is Eisenhower?
And Eisenhower come walking up to me and says, Sergeant, what cavalry are you out of? I said, Troop A is 12 Cavalry, sir. Well, my company commander was right there behind it.
Uh-huh.
And we were so busy that he didn't get to ask me anything about that. It always bothered him. And at a reunion 50 some odd years later, he says, why did he ask you that? I said, well, because the cavalry formed the first platoon, the first entire battalion of the police. And when
I'm going to contact your son and tell him that you and I have talked, and see if and visit with him and see if he can bring you over to do what we're going to do on the TV show. Is essentially what we've done right here, just not for as long, because we've only got 30 minutes for the television show. So we'll sort of skip over a lot of the things that you've told me. I wanted to get your whole story so that I would really know you before we do the TV interview, where we're just going to sit down and talk like we are now, with just be some TV cameras pointed at us. And we'll have to skip over a lot of the stuff because we got to get it all told in 30 minutes time. And as far as when we're going to do it, I'll contact your son, because I'm not sure yet. It might either be this Thursday, which would be 3 days from now, or it might be next week, next Wednesday. I've got to check with the people, but I'll be sure that Don knows and informs you. But when we do it, he'll bring you over there. We'll just sit down in 2 chairs and we'll talk like we have now. Just we won't be able to be quite as specific. We'll probably skip through some things. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not live. It's on tape. The TV show is on tape. It's not live. It'll actually play on television in a couple of weeks, actually.
Well, when does this play on television?
It'll be if we do it this week. If we do it, say, on Thursday, if we tape it on Thursday, it will be on television a week from this Friday, okay? If we do it next week, it'll be 10 days after we tape it.
In other words, it's on Fridays?
Yeah. This show is on every Friday. As a matter of fact, it's on every Friday on KAMU, are you on cable?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Channel 4. It's on every Friday at 8:30 at night, and it repeats Saturday and Sundays at 6:30 is when it's on. Remember, you can watch it this weekend if you want. I've got a fella on named Al Hansen who was in the Pacific this weekend.
Well, I've been through this interview from the paper.
Yeah, Bill Youngkin?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Youngkin.
Do you have a copy of that?
I do. I sure do.
Well,
I sure do.
okay.
I'll get a copy of that and all that. What I would like to do, if I promise to you that I will keep this intact, I'd like to borrow this from you and then return it to you when we do the TV show, okay? Because I need to send it over to the TV station to get some things. But I will get a hold of Don today, and he'll get a hold of you as far as when he's going to pick you up and when we're going to do it. But I just wanted to meet you so that you would know me, so that when we do this TV show, you'll know what we're doing.
I don't know whether you've been told or not, but last year, in '04,
Yes, sir.
they were celebrating the 61st anniversary of the formation of the Combat Military Police. and the 50th anniversary of the Military Police Association. And they tried to find some of the original, and I was the only one they could find.
Really?
They paid my way out to Fort Lewis, Washington, and all my expenses.
And this was last year
Yeah,
that you went for the 60th?
04.
Yeah, okay. For the 60th anniversary?
61st anniversary.
61st anniversary?
And I have a picture in there.
Right.
Me and the colonel cutting the anniversary cake. And I have a certificate in there of forming the Military Police Battalion. Would you like to take those with you to?
Yes, sir. I sure would. And I can, and then I will give them back to you, or bring them back to you. You okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get any pictures that, oh, here, I see it. Right here on the wall?
That's the one where I cut the anniversary cake. I guess you have heard my wife is in a nursing home now.
Okay, I was going to ask. She's in a nursing home here?
Yes.
What's your wife's name?
Anna Browning.
Anna? And how long have you all been married?
16 years.
Just 16 years.
This is it.
And there's your,
Beautiful.
all right. Good, I can scan that and do it. How old are you, Mr. Browning?
89
89. When will you be 90?
in May.
May of 06? Okay. Well, I'm going to get it. You will. You're doing good. You're doing good. I will get a hold of Don here this afternoon. I'll tell him that we've talked, and then he'll get a hold of you and tell you exactly. I'll pretty much coordinate things through him as far as when we're going to do this, okay?
But I want to know how I should dress. And
Just however you want to dress, just like you are now is just fine. Just not formal at all. Just whatever you're comfortable with is just fine when we do it, okay? And I will